All right, we got more plants going in today. We got zucchinis right here. Got 15,000 plants of zucchini. And then we got 20,000 plants of melons. We got two different varieties. 10,000 of a cantaloupe variety we grow, and then 10,000 of the canary melon, which is my personal favorite. It's the yellow one on the outside. And then all of this stuff is all part of our extra stuff that we're growing for the customer that has been buying our bok choy and then the cauliflower. This whole section right here is 51 rows. All of this right here is going to be filled with those 20,000 melons. This 51 rows is bigger than our normal sections of melons that we grow. Our blocks are usually around 25 to 30 rows for our melons. So obviously 51 rows of just two varieties is going to be a significant amount that we're going to be having to harvest out of here. The back section over there is where we had the bok choy at, and that's where we were planning on putting the cucumbers. But the cucumbers we're not planting for another month, and the zucchinis are obviously already ready for us to be planting. So we're deciding to put the zucchinis in the back over there, and then the cucumbers we're going to throw at the other ranch where we were planning on putting the zucchini, because we don't want the plastic to be sitting there for another month and getting messed up with deer walking on it and stuff like that. This is our second planting of melons we put in a couple weeks ago. They are getting their flowers already. They're opening up. Some other ones that aren't fully open yet. It rained on us a couple days ago. Luckily it wasn't as much rain as the first planting. When we put our first planting in, we got like 2 inches of rain overnight, and we had a ton of water sitting in the rows. But it's supposed to be in the 90s this coming up week, and the melons like the heat and the sun. Obviously it's nice and cloudy and overcast right now. It's a nice day to work when we're planting because it's not hot for us, but the melons, they want the sun for them to start growing, so we need some sun and heat. And then this is our second batch of watermelons. They do not have flowers quite yet. Once we get all of the zucchini and melons in, and then our other batch of melons and watermelons in, I'm gonna need to come in through the melons and the second batch of watermelons and start cultivating, because the weeds are already starting to come through. Usually we get them when they're small. The other planting, the first planting, we were a little busy starting to lay up all these fields, so I had to wait a little bit longer to cultivate those, and they got a little bit bigger than we usually like. Majority of the cantaloupe variety is done. We just have 7 trays left, and then we're gonna move to the canary melons, hoping to get majority, hopefully all of the melons in today, and then tomorrow start working on all the zucchinis, and that will probably take hopefully another day, maybe a little over a day on that. The zucchini plants are a lot bigger than the melon plants. Let's see. We're going to be packing thousands of boxes a week for our customer that wants the melons, watermelons, and then the zucchinis and cucumbers and stuff like that. So we decided to order our own custom cardboard boxes. They're going to be ready in about a month, month and a half. We just got our logo from our hat done on it, and I'll put a picture right now of it. We've never had our own custom box before, so we're excited to see our logo on our own box versus using a generic produce vegetable box. This is the first year that my brother and I really have not planted anything. Since my brother's obviously in law school, it's a little bit hard for him with his schedule. But since we have more land now and we're growing more stuff for our new customer, we have to have other people kind of taking over for us, because if there's a need to, if we need to move equipment or something, I would be moving equipment right now to our other fields to start disking or cultivating our other rows in our other planting. But since we are obviously getting bigger, we have to have some people start helping us because it's a little bit too much work for us to do everything now by ourselves. All right, we got 24 rows of the cantaloupe and we're starting on the canaries. We got 4 rows done so far and that is full. And we got all of these still left of the canaries. It's about 45 trays left to do of the canaries. We didn't finish planting the melons yesterday. We're finishing up right now, and then we're gonna move to the back of the ranch over here and put in the zucchinis. We are on the zucchinis now. We ended up having 4 rows left over that we didn't have enough plants for on the melons, because some of the trays didn't have as good of germ, so we were a little bit short on the plants that we needed to fill up those 51 rows. We have 47 rows over there, and this is obviously all the zucchini left in the trailer. All the melons are done. Got all this now to do, and hopefully we can fill up this whole back section with all of the zucchini. One of the issues we are having right now with the zucchini is that we did not pre-irrigate these beds, so the beds are a little bit harder than we would like them to be right now. So we're having to put more water in while they're planting, and we have to go a little bit slower right now. So it is obviously taking a little bit longer since the beds are a little bit too hard for them to plant. So what we plan on doing is on their break, we are going to turn on the well and irrigate these 2 sections right here where the zucchini is going to go, because we cannot have the tractor driving over the lay flat once there's water going through it, because obviously this lay flat builds up with a lot of pressure, and then if we drive over it with the tractor, it can easily explode this, and we do not want that to happen, because then we're going to have a whole nother issue to be dealing with. So we're going to wait until their break to try and put in about 15-20 minutes of water to see if it'll help soften up the bed a little bit more than what it is, because it is a little too hard right now. Here is how the zucchini is looking right now. Honestly, to me, it looks kind of like a mess in these rows because of all of the extra holes from the bok choy. But I know once the plants get bigger, they're going to easily cover up this whole plastic right here, and we will not be able to see any of the holes that were left from the bok choy. But the extra holes aren't going to make a difference. It's not going to hurt the plant at all. It's just more basically cosmetic by just how I'm not used to having all the extra holes in the plastic, since we have never double cropped these beds before. Usually once we put a crop in on the plastic, once that crop is done, we basically rip it out. We don't reuse it. But since the bok choy was such a short crop and it was only 30 days from the time we put it in and harvested it all, we felt like it was a waste to rip out this plastic and put in new plastic just to put in obviously all this other stuff. But it's gonna work. It's not gonna harm it. Obviously, it's more of just looks. And once we're done planting, which we're gonna be planting probably for another 3 to 4 more days, because once the zucchini is all done out of that trailer, we have a whole nother trailer coming for our next planting, our third planting of melons and watermelons, which is another 20,000 to 25,000 plants. So we're gonna be planting for another 4 or 5 days. Once I'm done with that, I need to start coming through and cultivating all of these rows and the second planting of melons to try and get rid of all the weeds right now. So this is obviously the busiest we've ever been on planting. Usually we don't plant this amount of plants in such a short period. Usually it's 25,000 plants every 2 to 3 weeks. But since our customer that we're growing obviously a lot more for, we are putting in about 50 to 60,000 plants in this week. So it is basically doubled what we have been planting in 1 week. So we're really busy trying to get everything in, get the fields ready. This Kubota is what we use to cultivate. The big New Holland, we do not use it for that. We use it for the disking and plowing the fields, which right now it is currently broke down because the turbo went out on it. So we are having to get that fixed. So we cannot disc this quite yet, which this is, I believe, where we're going to be putting our next planting. If not here, it's going to be at the other ranch, but we still have to disc it. And that is broke down right now. We finished up for the day. We only got 18 rows in. Since we obviously had to go slower, we couldn't get as many rows in and finished. We're going to irrigate the plants right now, and we're going to hopefully finish them up all tomorrow and get all the zucchini in, because the next trailer with the melons and watermelons is going to be delivered here today in the next couple hours. So once we're done obviously with the zucchini, we're already going to have the trailer ready for the next planting. This is what we got left of the zucchinis. All right, it is our third day of planting now. Finishing up on the zucchini. We got, I believe, like 12 or 13 trays left on the tractor to finish up, and that is going to end up leaving us with, I believe, about 8 rows left over without zucchini. But we already have the trailer for the melons and watermelons that we're gonna start doing that right after the zucchini. And obviously if we need some extra rows, we're gonna end up putting some watermelons or melons back here. So obviously this plastic has all the extra holes from the bok choy. Is making the ground dry out a little bit quicker since there's wind is getting in a lot more through the plastic. So that means we're gonna end up having to irrigate longer periods or more often, obviously all the zucchini, than we would if we had just a brand new bed of plastic. All right, it's time to unhook from that trailer where all the zucchini was at and hook up to the other trailer that they brought us last night that has all of the watermelons and melons. We gotta fill up the planter with some water and fertilizer, which we just used some Miracle Grow.
Okay, I got called out here. My brother is driving the tractor right now, about halfway through the melons. I am here to poke out the melons. I don't know if we've ever showed this before, but the melons, certain varieties of melons, when you're trying to pull them, this one pulls out just fine. But then there's certain ones, if you pull a little too hard, they just kind of struggle to pull out. It's like the root isn't really well connected and they'll just rip out the plant. So what I do is, or what we do, what I'm doing right now though, is we flip over to the side of the tray, or side of the tray, to see the bottom, and I use this handy dandy tool that I have, and I just poke through the hole of each one and pushing the plant kind of up so then it's easier to pull them out. This way that we don't have any of the plants that just rip out and just pull the root right off the plant. So then once they're planting, it'll be a lot smoother and we don't lose any plants, because plants are money. Every single one costs us money to seed, and the seed itself costs money. So that's all money that we're losing if the plants get pulled out and ripped from the roots. So that's what I'm doing. Brother's staying planting. My uncle's at the other end with the shovel. And I just got called over here because to do this job, but I've been studying for finals. So I'm just kind of like a emergency crew, Because other than that, I've been locked in on final. Okay, I just followed them for half a row, and this is what just one side had of plants that pulled out. This is what I mean by the roots just coming right off compared to the plant. The plant just pulls off the roots. And this is a lot of plants. So I gotta catch up because this is not ideal at all. The germ is fine on the plants, but if they're not able to pull out, these are the ones that I already did easily be able to pull out. So I gotta catch up.